Former President Jacob Zuma expected to return to court this morning. His first appearance was on the 6th of April over 16 corruption and money laundering charges related to the arms deal. His trial has been postponed twice, with his defense indicating that they plan to submit an application to review the case, this time represented by a new criminal advocate, Mike Helens. So we're having a conversation with political analyst Xolani Dube, who's in our Durban studio. So, Xolani, thank you very, very much. Before we took the break, it was an issue that I imagine his team are going to focus on quite intensely, and that is former President Jacob Zuma's constitutional rights and the right to a fair trial. There are many instances in South Africa that stipulate what a fair trial is, but I think the biggest one, and one that I'm seeing people talking about more and more and more, is the fact that the trial must be concluded without unreasonable delay. Now, this case has been dragging on forever with delays and delays. It's been over a decade since Zuma was first charged. This is going back to 1995, and here we sit in 2018. So let's talk about this, the never-ending delays on this trial. How is it going to affect this particular trial?
I think the defense team of Mr. Jacob Zuma, they have lots of grounds to really push back when it comes to their argument, because remember that this trial, to a certain extent, as it has been before, was labeled as a political trial, and I think that still stands even today in terms of Jacob Zuma's defense. As we have said, to a certain extent as well, is testing the political fraternity or the political space versus the judicial space, and how to reconcile the two when there is a political interference in the judicial space. And so, as I've said, this case is highly politically polluted, and I think the judiciary is supposed to travel, or is supposed to unwoven and deal with it in a very careful manner, because it will set as an example for any future cases that might happen. Look what is happening in Brazil with Lula. As much people are saying is about corruption, but a number of his supporters are saying no, it's a political case, and others are also even including the issue of BRICS, of which some also have done that to what they term is the sufferings of JZ, to say no, the man is being prosecuted because of the geopolitical redefinition that he now is with BRICS and so forth. And so I think the judiciary is always a sandwich in these political perceptions that are always aimed at elevating or sanitizing that particular individual who's supposed to face the rule of law.
All right, just finally on a closing note, expectations for today, I think we started the interview with that, is that, there might be the call for another postponement so the legal team can come familiar with us. But your predictions for this trial, is it an easy one to predict, or are we still going to see delay after delay, or are we finally going to get a conclusion out of this one?
Look, I think Judge Squire, in his last verdict, or his last speech when it comes to Jacob Zuma, he said that Jacob Zuma seemed to pretend to be like King Solomon, who is willing to fall down with the number of people if it happens that he is being found guilty. And so I think, as I've said, this case is got far-reaching effect if really is going to move on, and even if when Jacob Zuma is going to be found guilty, I don't think that Jacob Zuma will simply allow himself to go down alone. And so I think he will pull all other people to the fore so that everyone can be exposed when it comes to this case. And so, as I said, this case has got so many layers, and I'm not sure whether is it going to benefit Jacob Zuma alone, for this case to proceed, or it is something that is going to really ravel and expose number of things within the ANC, because the trial is supposed to inform the public in detail of what has happened, and the witnesses are supposed to be called. And so I think it might open a can of worms. As I said, it is a political case that might see a lot of people being exposed to number of things that we thought that were innocent people before.
All right, leave it there. Thank you very much for talking to us. Xolani Dube, political analyst and senior researcher, talking to us about the top story this morning, the fact that our former president, Jacob Zuma, expected to return to the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. We've got our reporter who is covering the story for us extensively, Ayanda Mhlongo. Ayanda's there. She's been joined by a guest. So Ayanda, gosh, the sun has risen. We can actually see what's happening behind you now. So we can see the crowds gathering, but talk to us a little bit more about what's happening outside the court.
Well, a very good morning once again outside the Pietermaritzburg High Court, where the supporters of the former President Jacob Zuma are arriving. More and more, as you can see, they are moving up and down the streets and in high spirits, I must say. They've been here, most of them, throughout the night vigil that was held last night. And this morning, we've been seeing more and more people arriving here outside the court. Of course, while they are here, we do know that there's another group that is gathering at Dales Park, which is about a kilometer from where we are. They will then make their way here to court. Of course, there's going to be a great deal of activity outside the court, but also we're here to find out what will be happening inside court. It's the former president's third appearance. There's been brief postponements in the other two appearances that he made at the Durban High Court. And of course, we were moved here to Pietermaritzburg today because there are renovations in Durban. But what we're expecting to find out, legal experts told us that it could be a very brief appearance this morning. That was after he's now appointed a new defense team that will be representing him. And speaking about what will be happening inside court, let me now bring in our legal expert, Advocate Makosazana Mbonani. Advocate, thank you very much for being with us once again. We were chatting to you earlier and yesterday, of course, just about what we can expect inside court this morning. And you said that it is likely to be another postponement.
Thank you for having me, Ayanda. Well, today, as we know, we can expect that there is going to be a possible postponement, and that is largely due to the fact that the president parted ways with his legal team. Now, as I explained yesterday, is that under those circumstances, the new legal team is going to have to familiarize themselves with the paperwork, with everything that has been going on in the case. And while it's been in the media and out there, it's a very complex case. So having changed counsel, having changed attorneys, they may need time to prepare so that they know what case that they're going to meet and to prepare a proper defense.
The last time there was also talk of his team wanting to pursue a review application, and that was after the NPA rejected his representations that he made earlier this year.
Okay, yes, just to elucidate on that, what happened is that there was a challenge brought in at the Pretoria High Court with regard to the president paying his own legal fees. Now, there is a standing agreement with the state attorney, and the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, made an undertaking that they will honor that agreement to pay the former president's fees until the court decides otherwise. Now, because of that, the president was unable to determine what his standing is with regard to paying his own legal fees. Now, that is the reason why they decided to ask for a temporary stay of prosecution, and they made representations to the NDPP, who then declined. Now, when that happens, you have the right to approach the courts and ask them to set aside that decision. So what the the former president is asking is a temporary stay so that he knows his position and so that he knows how he will be paying for his counsel. And as the NPA has maintained, they are ready for trial and they are ready to proceed, and the date has been set down for the 12th of November. So this is with regard to the president determining how he will be paying and if depending on what the Pretoria High Court is going to find.
With all these postponements, advocates, some have said that these are possibly delaying tactics on the side of the former president. But you said that he's well within his rights and that he needs to have a defense team. And so it would be unfair, so to speak, to say that these are delaying tactics.
Well, that is true. He's well within his rights because everyone has a right to legal representation and legal representation that can best defend him. So in this case, he has 16 charges, and they are very serious charges. And the fact that he is unsure about what legal team he can afford is a factor in that. So until that is determined, he is well within his rights to ask that the court consider giving him some time. Now, it is up to the court to make a determination as to whether they will indulge him or not.
I just want to quickly now speak about the co-accused, the French arms company Thales, represented by Ms. Christine Guerrier. Of course, she's not here today. She was excused at the last appearance because she travels from France to attend the appearances. But again, the NPA are rejecting their representations. Will we then see them possibly very quickly also maybe applying for a review application?
Well, we could expect that. It is a possibility. As I said, that when the NPA makes a decision, that anyone who they have the right to make an application to the court to make a determination that the decision maker was not in the right.
All right, Advocate, thank you so much for your time. Advocate Makosazana Mbonani, of course, we're going to be speaking to her throughout the day. Proceedings expected to start at 9 o'clock this morning. And of course, we will be here bringing you the coverage of the former president's appearance in court and, of course, what is happening outside. The crowds are gathering outside the Pietermaritzburg High Court. But for now, it's back to studio.
All right, thanks very much, Ayanda. We'll catch up with you again just now.